Good evening, folks. Welcome to another session from the Wise Asylum. Well, we weren't going to have a live stream this week due to circumstances unforeseen. However, things have changed slightly, so here we are. So what I haven't done is prepare a live stream, but there were a lot of stuff missing from other live streams that just didn't fit in because I was yabbering on way too long about all sorts of nonsense. So I've basically, in the last few hours, just pulled this stuff together and hopefully, not hopefully, you will get some interesting data because all this stuff is basically what I wanted to put out at other times but didn't get a chance to. So here we go. Welcome. Mew says hello. Paul says good evening and hello to everybody. Slipknot says, alright Sean and everyone, hello Slipknot. Mewpit, do you all see Sean's new teeth? Did you catch them? I'm wondering if anybody catch that. If they haven't, don't say a word, Mew. If they didn't see it, they didn't see it. And Andrea says, good evening Andrea. How are we all doing on another week of madness? It's all going down in that Ukraine, isn't it? Let's have it coming now. Look, Russia's come out and said UK Navy did it, Gov. So that wouldn't surprise me. You know, we've got our boys, and as I said a few weeks ago, it's obvious now NATO's in there because the Ukraine appears to be doing quite well in particular sort of attacks it's putting forward. Well, that's something to do with Ukraine. It's definitely our finest, which isn't a good thing, let's be honest with you. I mean, we're talking EMP stuff here. That's what Putin and China have been playing with for all these years. EMP. And he's told us the very same. So, you know, talk about blackouts and with all this nonsense that's going on, I'll tell you what it is. If we don't reel in our bunch of numpties now, however, let's face it, who they're working for now, our military. PESCO! The EU! The EU are now using our military for its own ends while blaming us because we're there, and they're just falling apart because they're all stupid and have its sanctions on Russia, clearly not benefiting one single nation that's shoving up those sanctions. And of course the UN's all over this. It's fully supporting the Western stance and giving it the big no Vlad. It was nothing to do with we don't have to do with UK Navy. We don't believe you. You haven't shown us any evidence, they said. They're also saying that it's unfounded, Vlad. There is no biolabs anywhere. And the United States isn't doing any such thing. Well, the United States might not be, but Port and Dan's been doing it for a very long time and led the world in it. So, what are we being dragged into here? You know, while you're all fast asleep. Not you personally, guys who are watching. I'm talking about to the wider world. Fast asleep. No idea that they're being dragged into an absolute quagmire of hell. You know, we've got lads now having drones sent over to the Black Fleet. So they're now attacking his navy. You know, I mean, I can't believe that there's no cries for what is going on here and why is our armed forces operating in this theatre like this. Well, PESCO, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, PESCO. One step back into the EU we've made through this absolute garbage going on down in Chalker, Westminster. You know, it's just ludicrous that they're getting away with it. It really is insidious that they're getting away with this stuff because there's no calls for it to stop. It's quite ridiculous, really. So that's going on over there in the Ukraine. Vlad made a great speech this week, I have to say. However, and I'll say it to you again, it's all theatre. Vlad, his best mates, with Biden, with whatever tosspots they've got going down in the old Chalco Westminster. It's a game. It's an absolute game, and we're going to get into some evidence as to show you why that's so and why I keep popping on about this. As though, these are sides. You are on sides because you believe in your government, you believe in the media and your military commanders, whomever they are. You're being sucked into an absolute lie. It's a theatre, and they're all operating to the same agenda. And who's suffering? United States, Europe, blighty. It's not good, is it? It's not good. It's really not good. You've got Ireland now. Things are not good. They want to get more involved with the EU. I say Ireland, it's not the Irish people. It's the same kind of situation of governance that we've all got. All our land's in trusts, everything's in trusts. Our assets, our wealth, our estates is being national trust is the worst. How much land of ours has it took upon itself? And what does it do? It starts knocking you out. Oh, you can't come here. Oh, no, you can't come here. Heritage controls your property. Because when you're going to buy an house, you think these solicitors are on your side. No, they're just making sure that the contract already exists and attached to that property. And if they can, whatever contracts the previous purchaser signed when he purchased, carry forth. Heritage. Who in the world would allow such a bunch of numpties to tell you when you've paid a fortune for your property, oh, you can't do this. Oh, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do this either. Yeah, that's limiting your capacity. That's putting a burden upon you. Of course, law has a remedy. Anybody that limits your capacity or indeed places a burden upon you is liable. So if heritage is telling you can't do this, that's say fine, we'll do it this way, but you're paying. Why are we paying? Well, because you're telling me I have to do it this way. I'm fine to do it, I'll accept what you're saying, but you're paying. They're liable. They've placed that burden on you. They've limited your capacity to do as you wish. National trust. You can't go on there. Hang on a minute. Who are you holding this trust for? Who are you holding this in trust for, son? Because if you're telling me I can't come on, you're obviously not holding it trust for me. But it's mine. Yeah. Can you see how they've done it? Trust governance. Most of them are charitable. You can't see anything that's going on in these operations. So, on a follow-on from the what would we do if we were political? Well, we'd seize all these assets with immediate effect, with the aim and intention to be putting them back into the state. But obviously, you'd have to get the state back in order before you did that. Otherwise, they'd run off with anyway. As it stands, we're going to lose everything because it's all going to be passed on to the Vatican Bank to be eaten up by China. China's going to want to protect its assets. China's going to have its little boys and girls here. Before you know it, police will all look like the Chinese. I don't know. This is not an offence to the Chinese people. We're talking about the corporation China. Unfortunately, the Chinese people have got excited. And if they haven't got excited, they put in camps. They put in lockdown, as has just been done again today. 10 million are now in lockdown again in China. As Xi's just took again another 5 years. Thrown out the guy, his predecessor, before the end of this meeting. They're up to no good. They're up to no good in a big way. And it's not funny. But, same as Vlad the Impaler, Biden, Trump, every two-bit shit down in Chalco, Westminster, are all operating for the same force that controls every single one of these players in this game. That's what's happening. Television? Why are you watching television? You need to be watching the real theatre here. and then remembering you've got to take point. So, enough of the old lecture. What have you guys got to say? And did you see the little trinket I put up yesterday? So, did they see me teeth? Well, I don't know, but you're the only one that's mentioned it, Mew, and I would have expected you to see it, in all truth. So, I'm not surprised. Andrew says, evening public notes. Hello, Sean, men, women, and all legal entities. There's no legal entities on here, Mew, China. We're all man, male, female. No woman on here, cop. That's a fiction. A complete and utter fiction. As we little explored yesterday, did we not? Well, I actually explored it on my Todd, but then presented it to you, of course, tonight. We're exploring together. Even Sean and the crew didn't think I would make it on time. Well, you did say you weren't going to make it on time, Tony, so well done. Police by consent. Good evening, all. Good evening to you. Mia Media Mogul. I like that. Hi, all new here. Was invited, so let's see if it's up my street as I was told it would be. We will do our best, Mia. Paul, good evening. Public Notice says, welcome, peeps. Welcome to you, Paul Sefton. I saw them. Well done. I thought they were quite excitable. I liked it. That came to me on a Friday. But I've got to be honest, it didn't come with a good vibe. It was quite... so I had a terrible morning and then came back here and went... I made that little ditty. Then thought I'd better leave it a while. I need to think on it a little bit more. And while in the shower, which is where I get a lot of inspiration, I thought, you have not done it justice. There is missing data. So I re-edited it. Added the data I wanted to add, which was not in video, but just in typing. And hopefully it sort of give a full picture that, you know, even this dark and light crap that everybody's on is pure bollocks. It's just like you're looking at Jedi and you're looking at the Empire. They're the same fucking force. They're just two brothers from the same bubble. One offers his blood and flesh and blood up willingly, so Abel, and the other he does it through hate, because Cain got a bit pissed off, didn't he, when his Lord were having it, and then killed his brother, again offering up a blood sacrifice. But so you've got hate and willing. Is that not mankind? You better believe that's mankind, isn't it, today and everywhere? Most people are just willingly giving up their flesh and blood to become this person, and then crying about it. But of course we know crying about it because they don't understand that, and that's why we're here. Hopefully to help people to see the crack. So, Arsehole, he says, Sean is a funny guy too. Sometimes. I haven't been funny lately because it's I'm not in a good mood, in truth. So hopefully when I can get myself in a better mood, we can have some crack. Cos 1973, and he's got the glasses on. These emojis, I still don't understand what they're meaning. I know they all have a meaning. I'm way out of tech with that. Slipknot says, hiya, Mia. So Slipknot knows Mia. How you doing, Trev? Like button, please. Yeah. Did you notice they took about 30 likes off one of the live streams? How naughty is that? Andrea Fallon says, I filmed NATO vehicle and blue helmets here on English soil last week whilst travelling up from Watford, somewhere around Northampton. Really? No, then. That's not good, is it? So, 2020, when all that nonsense kicked off, Salisbury were full of NATO, German NATO commanders, vehicles, security, and now we're seeing UN blue helmets. Let's not forget, folks, the biggest share of blue helmets is China. It's not good. Was third to hit thumbs up. Sean gives his time for free. He does. He does, because there's no benefactors out there. It's just crack on. Hi Sean, hi everyone, says Treen, what are you doing here really? That's outrageous. Persons, yeah, 7 acres, 7 million and a horse. Huh? 7 acres, 7 million and a horse. You might have to expand on that, Mia. Cause he's giving some of them things Funny hand. Oh, that looks like David Icke's kind of handshake, that, doesn't it? And an alien. Jolly good. Don't mind a bit of alien on a Sunday. I had a vivid dream. This is Treen, of course, so it's probably going to be rude. I had a vivid dream where turquoise blue helmets were dragging folk out and slaughtering them. Oh my God, Treen. I didn't know who wore those helmets at the time. Now I know. Well, next time you have one of them dreams, just check their eyes. And then we get an even better picture. Because, of course, they're going to be having our lot off, hoity-toity over into Ukraine in a bit. Yeah, so you need to pay attention, Treen. And I'm glad it weren't rude. Mia says, pay with what? Debt note and IO up-prom note never paid, but did with our signature. Well, of course, you know, it still exists, that system. Like I said before, if everybody agreed that cat shit were currency, then cat shit would be currency. It's all about what we agree to use. Because, you know, only true money is your labour. That's the only true money. Your labour. And whatever we choose to use to represent that labour is okay if everybody agrees it. Then it has value because we've decided. So, yeah, funny money as it might be, but if it wasn't in the hands of the psychos, the fruit bats, all would be well. And in truth, if our governments were actually still in control, well, actually not this government because it's up, but let's say we had our old system and it was still in our hands through our state system, all would be good. I mean, there were a period in America where there was no inflation because it was backed on the silver, and when you got to an age where you could start to understand these concepts you were choosing your career, you knew exactly how much you had when you retired. Because there was just no inflation, no debt incurred in anything. And it probably would have been a lot bigger because obviously if you do it that way, you're not incurring debt. Each time a new manufacturing base or such grows, it expands on that value. So, you know, it's I understand what you're saying, but it exists, it works. We all get what we're supposed to need when we exchange that paper stuff because we all agree. That's the thing. So I do get you, but I'd rather have that than go into this electronic. Because it's the blockchain that's the problem. Nothing on blockchain isn't witnessed, isn't accounted for. So there's nothing that can happen on blockchain that isn't then data banked. That's the danger of it. You can't do anything. Your entire life is mapped. It's creating a footprint, and AI, if they can get away with that, would be the thing that was judging you based on the collected data from everything you did. You know what I'm saying? So if you're watching too much porn, AI is not going to be happy with that, is it? But what I'm saying, you can see the degree to which that will go. If they can get an AI powerful enough to run that, I'd be surprised if they can, to be quite honest, because that's a big ask. To run the entire global system, one system. It wouldn't be able to be done. It'd have to be localised, I would think. So then each AI would have a different sort of data bank on it on what to judge on. So that'd be interesting. It's just not good whichever way you go it. So I'll keep paper for now, I would say. You will have nothing. We already have nothing. Well, you have your estate, don't you? You have your heritage. But you've forgot. And you've given it up to this system that's used it and abused it and gained its wealth and power from that deception. So if Mia's new to this, I'll try my best if we enter a subject to give her a little brief so that you can get a hit on it, but good grief, we're accepting communism, absolutely. But the thing is, it's all going to go right now. It's all going to go to the right. That's the plan, because of course they have to get this Third World War going off. And who do the Zionists despise? Because of part of the priesthood, no longer part of Christendom. See, my idea will probably be that what they'll do is they'll kick off down in the Middle East in the next few years. We'll already be militarised because of what the role Vlad's playing. They'll rebuild the Ukraine in this new metaverse super system and then hold it up as a shining light to encourage others to join it when they've, got you on your knees. But ultimately what I think they're going to do is kick it off in the Middle East, which they have to do because this is part of the script. After they've encouraged as many of the geniuses they can from the world into the greater Israel. And of course, if you go with the doctrine, it's a third of those people that are going to be annihilated in this war. Now, what I think they're going to do is drag all our Christendom in as like a crusade kind of thing. And then, lo and behold, when we're in there, all bets are off, and the two nutjob fighting lot will come together, and we'll lose our entire standing militarily. So that's how I see it kicking off and going down. And then, of course, we've got these different religious ideologies spread across all of us. So if it's going to kick off there, it's obviously going to be meted out all over the bloody show. And it's just chaos, and chaos everywhere they go. If we don't get a grip and start to realise that that is the plan that they're moving to, and as long as you can still dance to that tune, they're going to get it to manifest, aren't they? And it's going to go live. To Abel Baal. Well, yeah, television, of course. The billionaire vision. Now, this is interesting. I'll just read this to you because it's a note I've remembered I've got. And just in line with what I was saying before about the Privy Council actually being the cabinet, this is how we need to start looking at it. So this, it says, as A.V. Dicey observed, the cabinet was in theory nothing but a committee of the Privy Council. Yet, the Privy Council, the cabinet, has in reality no dealings, and thus the extraordinary result has taken place, that the government of England is in the hands of men whose position is legally undefined. That while the cabinet is a word of everyday use, no lawyer can say what a cabinet is. That while no ordinary Englishman knows who the lords of the council are, the Church of England prays Sunday by Sunday that these lords may be endued with wisdom and understanding. So it's an old thing, I forgot. Why haven't I put up there its source? Anyway, I haven't. I may be able to find it and give it up in a future thing. But basically, none of us know who this cabinet really is. But it is, in fact, the Privy Council. Now, I remember Rob B telling me down at a meet in Nottingham that what he'd found was that the Privy Council acted for the absent king. Yeah? We're still on absent king, even though they're bigging him up as the king. He isn't the king. He hasn't taken the coronation oath correctly. And you've got a constitution unit trying to change that. So that's where you've got to keep your eyes on as well. So I just thought I'd pass that to you because I should have said this when we were talking about that before, but I forgot. I do crack on with gob. Bell, glow, bow, boldy, bailey, able, bow. A few examples of phonics descriptions. You've already been funny, man. Oh, all right. Mia says, Cain and Abel, cannibal. What about Seth? Oh. Yeah, I didn't get into that, in truth. But I think the point being, if you watch that video, is that whatever comes from that shenanigans in the garden is nothing to do whatsoever with Genesis 1, which is the story of the creation of the heavens and the earth. And more importantly, that man is actually descriptive of male and female. So the male and the female aren't separate. We are man. But the story in the garden is about the Lord. It's not the God in the first one. It's the Lord, thy God, created a garden. He decided what to put in it, animals, etc., and created this new thing. Not on the earth. It's in a separate little orbit thing here, and this is where you get your tabernacle nonsense from, the rule book. But what I'm not. There's the video. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, because the main aim of it was just again to get into your minds the difference between man and person. Because it doesn't matter what is going on in your world, if you are still operating in person because you're ignorant of it, everything that they're pulling down as an authority, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop them. Nothing. And that's the important part. If you want to free yourself from this system, that is the starting point. Otherwise, you're going to have to arm yourself and shoot them when they try and come through your door. Well, we don't want to get to that point, do we? Everything we're doing is to try and find a remedy outside of that kind of shenanigans. And England, in my opinion, along with the United States, Canada once had it, Australia once had it, that they don't seem to be bothering with it anymore, is that method. That's the irony of this. Hence the reason why England and the United States have been set up to be an example to everybody in order they can usher in this Noahide system. Well, I don't accept that. And, that's it. So I can explain it well enough to people that they can understand it and realise that they're not without tools. They're not without the method and the remedy to change these things here. I mean, we can only focus on England. Americans will focus on Americans. But there's a big chunk of nonsense to get through on both sides first, and realisations before we can get anywhere near hopeful that we can achieve such a thing. My mannerisms are funny. Tell the truth, Ray pointed out the teeth to me, bud, but as he said, to the end, being the mod looking out for you, bud. I know he does, he's a good lad. Thanks, Ray. And you're coming up for this shindig on 2nd of December. We've got the old school reunion, man. So you're coming for that, aren't you? You can stop here, don't worry about it. So yeah, hello Ray, if you're out there in the old China. El says, evening Sean, a diff to the proverbial cap. Alright, El, how's it going? Or a doff. Well, not swearing. We don't want to be doing swearing. Grandma doesn't like it. Currency. Yes, exactly. You are correct there, media. So you certainly know quite a bit there, Mia, the old China, but the person, the man, is the one to get. It really is. Andrea says, money of account, money of substance, and money of exchange. Well, if you remember, keep in mind that what do they send you what do they call it? An income tax. You're always paying an income tax. Well, why are you doing income? Income is buying something, adding a value to it, and selling it at a profit. That's income. If I'm exchanging my labour for whatever I choose you're going to give me, that's an exchange. Yeah, it's not included in the income tax bracket. It's an exchange. Your labour for whatever it is you've demanded you want payment in. Gold, cat poo. Yeah, money. Funny money even, who cares? But whatever you want to exchange your labour for and expertise, go for it. You're doing well and you're fine, and that's not income. It's not income at all. So that makes a bit of sense as well. Money comes from your energy. People work 5 days tonight. Exactly. The only real money is your labour. Whatever currency you want to attach to that labour is fine. It's just in the wrong hands and has been for a very long time, since they started the central banks, which began in the 10th century in Venice. So the idea was put there and spread everywhere. We went through Edward II, the Third, who were pretty good at saying to the Venetian sod off, I'm not paying you anymore. Caused havoc and Lombardy collapsed. So, the Venetians were well into all the monarchs, all the aristocrats, well into the Middle Ages, especially so after the Crusades. I knew that's what all the crypto was about. It's the carrot, innit? It was the carrot to get everybody excited and operating and getting used to the idea of moving currencies just in electronic. Did it work? Well, I wrote a report about it years ago, and that got picked up by a lot of the old financials, by the way. So I was right on the button. Because I am fantastic and amazing. I've told you my pronouns. Them are my pronouns. I'll tell you more. I will. We've all been shafted. We have been shafted, but we've shafted ourselves because we haven't paid attention. We've played along with all the jingle jangle that they put before us, haven't we? In truth, let's be honest. I mean, in a world we live, look what we live with today. The technology, the fact that we can get in a car and just whip off anywhere in the country. We in a day, you can get on a plane and go anywhere in the world. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, all they had were trains. But that were an amazing thing as well. Go back 200 years, what the horses, cars, that's it. Most people never left the town in their entire life. And we're so focused to garbage, we don't sit down and recognise just what an amazing time we are actually in. And, you're following the old narrative, which is to be miserable, be afraid, terrified of everything. You're not living. There's no enterprise in you anymore. It's all, what can I get for nout? It's not going to work, is it? Unless that attitude changes. And that's what really needs to change right now. Right this very minute. Because if we don't get a sensible move out of this garbage communism, then the only thing that's going to pick it up, because as we all naturally get pissed off, is this super Christian Zionist movement that's about to go all the way to the right and give you Puritanism again. So, if that's your fancy, catch on. Right. 21 key to the door, the Boeing bonds, 7 million, etc. worth our weight in gold. Absolutely. Major inflation occurred even before paper money on account of importing gold and silver from the colonies, diluting the money supply. Everything were a lot more screwed on silver, believe it or not, because there's a lot more of it. It's more difficult for them to monopolise silver, it was in the day, which is why America went for about 60 years with absolutely zero inflation and zero debt when they were on silver. I can't remember the ins and the exact time frame, because it's a long time since I did that, but it was a very interesting study. The drinks cabinet. What are you on? What are you drinking, Tree? That's the only cabinet that I recognise. Oh my word. They are changing the coronation oath. And they will do, if nobody rebuffs it. Won't they? She's joined the man acting in legal capacity of the fiction paymaster general and acting as minister. Well, Jeremy's your Brexit guy. They've done it. They've pulled us back one on Brexit and put us into PESCO. That's the military under the EU. We're under the EC. The juries. The judiciary is under the ECHR, which pretty much ties our hands in relation to deciding who gets in here, what kind of authority, such as Public Health England and whatever they call themselves now, really has, which is zero. And that's the ECHR that prevents that. So that needs to go. And there they've got us in PESCO, which means the military are now under the EU control. There's only the finance next. So we're going to have to kick off. We're going to have to cause all the hell. I don't care if it upsets Europe. Who cares? And if it upsets Paddy's over there in Ireland, that's your fault for joining Euro. Even though we know that you Irish didn't. How many times did they make you at referendum because you weren't giving them what they wanted? Yeah, so we know, but something's gone on and you seem to have been completely quietened over there. I'm not hearing anything coming out of Ireland. Moving against the control of the EU, because it all seemed to be just over the book script. But that's gone into the background now because it's only really relative to those that jumped on and are still dealing with whatever occurred. So it's just sad, isn't it? But them voices have gone because it's all gone in the background. They need to be looking at what the hell they've set up with this European Union thing. Jeremy Quinn MP appointed Paymaster General and the Minister for Cabinet Office on 25th of September 2022. So, let's have a look. Right, well, I'll come back to you guys in a minute because I want to just have a shindig. Here. So, this is somebody sent me National Insurance, the Act and all the stuff that come off it. And I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. So I had a little tinkle and went through a few links, and I thought this were interesting. So it said, Lord Milner of Leeds, my lords, your lordships will be obliged to the noble Lord Strathclyde, for the clear exposition he has given of this bill. He has made it clear that it has two principal objectives. First, to double the contribution paid to the National Health Service by the individual, and to the extent to relieve the general taxpayer of an equivalent amount. How the hell does it do that if taxpayers paying tax and national insurance? But they can get away with that kind of talk because everybody's stupid. And secondly, to establish for the first time a separate health service contribution. If not, indeed, I'm not quite clear about this, a separate health service fund. Now, up until they invented this National Insurance Act in 1911, so this is before First World War, it was all charitable organisations and any big institution tied to the unions of industry, they'd also have their own charitable efforts for their employees and families, for medical, etc. So basically, the health of the nation was in the hands of the nation, right down to street level. Obviously, they had to change that, and they had the National Insurance Act of 1911. So, as we've just seen there, its intent was to fund this National Health Service. Now, it was optional to put into this National Health Service from 1911. It didn't really change until 1960s into the mammoth it became. But to take the second purpose first, it is instructive to remember a little of its history of the National Health Insurance. Under National Insurance Act 1911, drought in, of course, by Mr. Lloyd George, the health service was provided as part of a general, though limited, social insurance system. Under the Act, the worker, the employer and the state each made a contribution, and the contributor was entitled to certain fixed benefits, which were provided by virtue of the premium or contribution paid. In those days, of course, prescriptions had not been paid for, they were free. Then, under the Act of 1946, brought in by a Labour government, there was no separate premium or contribution. The contribution was merged or included in a total payment under the National Insurance Act. The National Health Service Act made no provision for the contribution. So this is after the war. So this is when they relaunched it, in a sense, and really shoved it into our neck, while all the population of the time were still under major stress from having had to suffer the Second World War. Now, for the first time, there is to be a direct contribution in respect of the health service, imposing or doubling the liability upon the individual. And at the same time, the payment for prescriptions, which, as your lordships know, was introduced by this government, and has since been considerably increased, is to continue. Okay, so this system, right, was entirely set up for the National Health Service and nothing else. Now, in the 1960s, they changed it again, and that made it compulsory that everybody had to contribute. It was optional before. So from 1960s, the change was made, everybody had to pay national insurance. So we pay for the NHS, and I've done since its inception. Look at what's happened to it. And now they're saying it's got no money. Right? So they're saying it's got no money. Let's have a look at this. So, it always does that, doesn't it? Wait a minute. Delete the... There we go. So there we go. National insurance contributions, tax receipts in the United Kingdom from 2001 to 2021-22 in million. 156. But I'm sure that's billion, actually. Tax receipts for national insurance contributions. Here we go. Tax receipts for national insurance contributions in the United Kingdom amounted to over 156.9 billion British pounds in 2021 to 2022, compared with 143.5 billion pounds in the previous year. These arseholes are taking off us 156.9 billion and then telling us National Health Service is no good. Why can they do that? Oh, because the National Health Service today is in the hands of private trusts. Again, they've took what's ours and then dictate how it's used while taking 156.9 billion into their own hands. Can you see what I said last week? This is a wealthy nation, and that wealth is ours. It's only theirs when we hand it over to them. Why are we handing it over to them? Clearly, they're operating not for the nation, but for an invented debt which has given them a bankruptcy. Right? So that's your national insurance. For the NHS, they're telling you it has no money, they've had to privatise it, and now they're giving you nothing apart from death. Yeah? That's what they're doing. And we sit back and we suck on it. Now, let's have a look at this. House of Commons Library. Tax statistics and overview. Published Tuesday the 21st of June 2022. Okay? This is our money. Public sector current receipts 2021 to 22, 916 billion. 916 billion pounds. Look, listen, are you listening to these figures? And we've no money. We've no money. Income tax, 228 billion per year. National insurance, this year, 161 billion, so it's above the one we've just looked at. VAT, 143 billion. Corporation tax, 66 billion. Capital taxes, 41 billion. Council tax, 40 billion, and I don't believe that for a minute. Fuel duty, 26 billion. Tobacco and alcohol duties, 23 billion quid. Business rates, 22 billion. Other receipts, 91 billion. And other taxes, 76 billion. And none of that is inclusive of all the fines, all the penalties, all the charges you're incurring through the judiciary and the private companies called the police. Yeah? Are you seeing this? This is how much money they're taking off us, 960, and telling us we're still in debt. They're telling us we're still in debt and pulling 916 billion, and that doesn't include all the judiciary and the police are bringing in. Come on, people. Maths. It's simple as maths. That's a lot of money, and we're getting nothing for it. Not a B. Yeah? And Bank of England is printing more money. Why? Why is it having to do that? Well, it's nothing to do with the fact that we're paying, but it's got everything to do with this shenanigans and fake debt system they've got going on bankruptcy. Because that's where all our money goes, into that pot. And then they'll piss out a little bit for you if you're lucky. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty... I'm vexed. I'm pretty vexed by that. So what are you saying? What are you saying to that load of codswallop? Yeah, they are changing. Well, we're going to have to do something about that, aren't we? Once I get myself on my feet, that's exactly where I'm going, people. Forget everything else, that's where I'm going. You want to put a tit on my throne? I don't fucking think so. And excuse my French. That ain't happening. But you know it's not going to happen with Charles because they're going to release some garbage about Diana. Telling you now. That is not even the focus. Yeah? The focus is that whatever shitbag attempts to sit on the throne of this nation had better be taking the proper and correct coronation oath. Had better be abiding by the Act of Settlement and offering the Bill of Rights, Magna Carta, to the people of this nation. Yeah? And I know last week, maybe I didn't make it as clear as I possibly could have done, but when I was talking about paperwork being removed from immigrants, I'm talking specifically about anybody that came in here illegally. Because I know from my Muslim friends just how difficult it is for them to get somebody over here from their own Pakistan or Kashmir to marry. You wouldn't believe, if you're thinking it's easier to get, it's not. It really isn't easy. So for these illegals to just walk in off a boat on a beach and then be given all this paperwork, it makes a mockery of the people that actually do it correctly. You know what I'm saying? And that has to be taken on board because that's exactly what's happening. And it's the police that are giving these illegals paperwork. And then we're paying for them. 5-star hotels. No. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Full investigation into these corporate police at command level. Because we know they're all Masons. They're all Freemasons. All of the command level in this in police forces. And it's always been Freemasonry. When Freemasonry acted in upholding England, no problem. They've not been doing that for a very long time. Because, of course, we now understand 21st degree, Prussian knight, Noahide judge. And we're going to get into a little bit of data in a minute that you will find exceptionally interesting as well as startling, but also in sync with what I've been saying all this time. The post office helps you replace with barcodes so they can track your mail if you pay with a card. Wonder what will happen there then. We haven't got a postmaster general. We haven't had one since 1967. He run off. And then it was very strange when you look into that. Very strange indeed. So you posties who are having trouble with your striking, why don't you just start to understand what it is you're supposed to be employed by and start making a fuss about, well, wait a minute, we want a postmaster general and we want our postal system to go right back to the authority as on the land to oppose all this shit that's coming off the sea. Uproot it. It's because they took over the postmaster general and made it nothing that they've been able to do this. So if posters want my support, then start getting your brain back in order and realise it's not just all about your little self. You need to look at this post office as a whole and recognise that it's been shafted. You need to go back under a nationalised postal system and we have a paymaster general. Because the power of that office is huge. And I bet none of the post office guys that might be listening to this have a clue what I'm talking about. Have you? Right, so that's how thick you are. Anyway, from next month the new stamps will come in. Barcode has no value. Not good. I guess if they can track your letters, they can also make sure they don't arrive at the address you put it on, of course. Well, if they get rid of registered post system witnesses and serves. The minute it's contracted, it's classed as served. And the Postmaster General is the witness. This is what they've got rid of, you see. It's clever. But nobody's been paying attention since the Second World War. Old lady nodded off in front of hot coal fire. That's Debbie, is it? Deborah! Nodding off. Better late than never, evening all. Well, it's alright, Deborah. We'll let you off. 5 litre trays, so almost like having my own cash point, constant supply. Just shoot them, Chuck. Just shoot. Get your cats and just shoot them. Say, sorry, I love you, but boof, you stink. And of course, I'm only joking because I wouldn't shoot my cats. Although I did run one of my cats over. She was sleeping in the car and it weren't good. And 3 days before Christmas, me and my 2 lads were traumatised. That were the worst nightmare. So if you ever think it's a good idea to have your animals put down, then make sure you've got the balls enough to sit there and watch it, because you'll be at shock of your life. Them animals know exactly what's going on and they don't fucking like it. So if you think it's humane, think again. So if you're going to have your animal put down, make sure you stand there and watch, and then you know exactly what it is you've done. Instead of running around floating in emotion, oh, it's all great and fine. No, it's not. You do it, because I did, and I was ashamed of myself. But she were buggered. It just completely and utterly squashed her entire... Oh my God. You need to do that. Just like people today talk about abortion like it's nothing. And we'll have a look at where that source, what doctrine does that come from? Because it's the FIDC source. Can we apply for a diplomatic passport? Yeah, there is a way of doing that. There were a guy come out with all that stuff, but actually there were a few guys I were watching, and then with that guy launched who, obviously a Mason pretending to become Postmaster General of America. I didn't follow it on after that because it was pretty obvious that it was Masonic when I was looking at it. But there were other guys showing you how you can do this, and the countries in Africa were actually allowing you to open up diplomatic relations with them. So there is remedy with that, but it's quite a long time ago, and a lot happened at the time that I were getting into that, so I couldn't pursue it. But you can actually put yourself in a position where you've got diplomat and you're communicating with nations in the diplomatic realm. And the African nations are very happy to open diplomatic relations with you, so it gives it manifestation as reality. So yes, you can, but there is a way of doing it, and I forgot. I'm sure there must be a way to get the DP, because that's what they do. DP, what's that? There was a woman who said to get a captain's passport. Oh yeah, or DP. Sorry, Dad. Yeah. Train on with you now. Under man and not person, I'm sure they don't use citizenship. No, because even diplomatic immunity, you're still on person. But you've got to remember, you've your entry of birth, and then you've got the SESQ trust. So your SESQ trust, SESQ trust, creditor, debtor. So you can still utilise. And of course, since '69, you've not been getting the entry of birth. So you're stuck. But us older guys, we've still got our tools there to push this jurisdiction. If you don't want to go down the stat debt route, or what other methods there are to actually protect yourself, and more importantly, your assets. So yeah. Oh, something else as well. I've noticed we've got a very naughty boy about to rise up, and he is a naughty boy. He's our Craig, the gumshoe. So he's come up with this real naughtiness. For any of you out there that have suffered some kind of miscarriage of justice, you've been imprisoned, you've been fined, you've lost your house, etc., you weren't given justice, then he's about to set something going that would interest you. And I think from what I saw today, he's going to pull out a particular email for this thing, and you'll receive a package if you're interested in doing that. Sounded interesting to me. I'd like to get a contact for him, because it's nothing to do with that, Craig, although I will like you promote it by all means. But I want to talk to you about a few things, if possible. So I don't know whether you want to send me your phone number on my email or something. Which of course I wouldn't expect you to put it out there in the mad world. Neither would I put mine out there in the mad world, because there's a lot of fruit bats out there. And if they get your telephone number, oh my God, your telephone's going all day. So you have to be careful. So have a look at Gumshoe Sleuth YouTube channel and see if his latest video is something you might be interested in. Right, what else have I got? Let me just check on this. I've done that, and I've done the National Insurance under that. So we've done that. Obviously, I'll put these links up. Now then, there's somebody here that. Oh shit! Oh my God! I've just opened my iMovie, so I need to shut that. No wonder. Oh my God! I just need to shut that right quick. Oh my God! I thought, why in the world did I do that? Because it looks like same as Streamlabs, that's why. I just need to shut this now, and then, of course it is life in the mix, we do make a mess, because we're good at making messes. It wouldn't be the same if I didn't make a mess. So I've got this one now that I want you to have a skin at. Oh, you absolute bugger. See, it should actually just transition that, and it just doesn't, because it's a pain in the ass. So let's go down here. Where is that one? There we go. And this is Act of Union. Again, something I forgot. I didn't manage to get out while we were actually talking about it. But so this is Barhead Boy supporting Scottish independence. Now, obviously he's a jock and he's all for Scotland and hate the English and blah, 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 blah. But within this, it just cements a bit more of the info I've been giving. And it says, one of the greatest pleasures of writing articles for you is the BTL responses that I received regarding my thoughts. Yesterday, in my article, Boiling the Frog in Reverse, I was fortunate enough to receive a wonderful comment from a regular reader, Gail Miller. It was such a wonderful contribution to the debate, I wanted to share it with a wider audience. I'm delighted that Gail agreed to my request. We're blessed with... Anyway, so this is Gail Miller, has sent it to this guy, Barhead Boy, in Naughty Jock. It says, Scotland wasn't annexed into a Greater England, though it sure as hell acts like it due to both Scots and their representatives treating Scotland as such. Even the language they use would suggest they buy into the English narrative of Scotland being extinguished and subsumed into a Greater England, albeit under the new name of the UK. Now, I can assure you, Gillian, there's no Englishman thinks that. Right? We're just glad to have you part of the British Isles and not be whisked off into Europe. What it had was a government who, in order to maintain their wealth and assets in a foreign country, permitted a fundamental breach of the Treaty of Union under the guise of quelling any uprisings by banning all things Scottish. To this day, most Scots, the government and indeed the representatives, act as though this breach is one, legitimate, and two, still in place. Any time a Scot, the government or representative, talks about Scotland and its authority, it is through the prism of being an English region under English dominion. The excuse of greater MP popularity, parliamentary sovereignty. There is no sovereignty in Parliament, honey child. Is trotted out as though that proves the point. Yet the trade agreement that was ratified in 1707 by both parliaments ensured that both countries were legally equal parties with equal authority to the state of GB, and that both countries upheld all of the rights prior to and after the signing. Well, that ain't happened, has it, Joe? The English establishment, referring to itself as UK, did not alter the fact, nor did it bestow upon the absolute dominion. They have none in and over Scotland, bar that which the Scots themselves grant, and therein lies the problem. The Scots are all too happy to bestow the authority on a foreign country. Why are we foreign? Instead of demanding that their own government and representatives act in the capacity that they were elected to govern the sovereign country of Scotland. Well, you're not sovereign, Gillian, because you're in the Act of Union. That's the whole point. You still have a sovereign crown, but it's no longer in operation. And that's nothing to do with just England. That's the shindig that were agreed by the Whigs, Puritans, Presbyterians, whatever you want to call them, the Prussians, as the equal partner with equal authority to the state. They make excuses and attempt to transfer blame. But the buck stops here in Scotland. When the French government acts against the people, do the French complain about the government of Germany, Luxembourg or Spain about those countries' policies? No, they hold their own to account, because as a country, the buck stops with the French. So too in Scotland. The difference is Scots have been trained not to rock the boat. It's not that you've been trained, you're like a police state, and you've been like that for a long time. Not to question and simply to do as they are told, like complicit children. This has to change, as the quote state, live as though you're living in a better nation. But you're not going to do that under the Act of Union, Joe. First, we need to get rid of the Act of Union so we can get back to Scotland's crown and England's crown. But that's not the intent. First, the Scots must recognise that they are a nation, a sovereign nation. You are. Next, that they are in a sovereign country, and last, they have all the authority they can ever need. You're not in a sovereign country, you're a sovereign nation. Country is more in tune with this shindig. that they only need apply it, not ask, not win, not gamble, simply assert the authority that they already have. Exactly. And then England needs to do the same. It should also be pointed, this is why, you've got to remember all the bloodlines live in Scotland. All of them. It should also be pointed out the Declaration of Arbroath was not a declaration of independence, but of war. Its stated aim was to inform the Pope that if England should dare to infringe upon the sovereign people of Scotland and their country, that they will go to war to protect their independence at all costs, because the Scottish crown is under Roman law. The ancient laws and customs of Scythia, from whom the Scots descend, were made clear. It is not for riches, honour, nor glory that we fight, but for freedom alone, which no honest man give up but with life itself. This was no mere threat, but a statement of action. Over the years, the Scots' Scythian ancestry has been omitted from their education, and very few Scots actually know about the Scythian heritage. And as part of the omission, the history of the Declaration has been revised to claim it as a declaration of independence. Yes, darling, but your aristocracy came in first through Bruce with Templars, and then through Belgium, from Belgium through David I. So you might be Scythian ancestry, but you've had an European twisted aristocracy since David I. You see? This is why you Scots, I said, you're not stupid, but because you're blinded by the hatred of little old me, being an English guy. You don't see the big picture. So obviously you're writing bollocks. You are of Scythian ancestry, but your hoity-toits haven't been so since David I, and they've come down here, and because of you lot were rubbish, now they took over my lot. Can you see why I'm pissed off? You get off that bagpipe. Stop killing the Aggies. Stop squeezing the bagpipes and get your brain in gear, because there's still more Scottish living in England than there's ever been born in Scotland. Because the English are Scythian too. Anyway. The fact is, though, it was the union of the Scythians and Picts that created Scotland, and its independence as a country has been enshrined since 800s, long before the Declaration was ever penned. I agree that the removal of the Scottish Government from the Parliament of GB should take place, but it should be done after making a proclamation. The gradualist approach only permits the English establishment, no, it's the Scottish establishment, Gillian, to further damage Scotland and folks' lives, whether they work, study, train, or are unable to do so for any number of reasons. It also permits the English government to remove folk from Scotland, because the Scottish government that Scotland has is utterly useless and beholden to the English government, as they seem as their superiors and not their equals. Even with the climate conference which is coming up, the Scottish government are acting as though they need England's permission to attend. Listen, darling, most of the hoity-toits in Parliament are of Scottish descent. Sugar pie. Just because they talk with an English accent, just because they pretend they're English, just because they went to Cambridge and Oxford, they're not interested in that. It's bloodline for them, sugar pie. And they all tie to the Scottish aristocracy. So can you see, Gillian, why you never get anywhere? Why bother voting at all for Scottish government if they're not going to act in the capacity they were elected? Why pretend to have a Scottish government if they're going to defer governance to the English government? What an insanity. We just need to get rid of the Act Union sweet thing. Supporters of the English establishment and its narrative of GB being Greater England under the new name of UK falsely claim that Westminster is sovereign. No, Westminster is a sovereign land, but Parliament isn't sovereign. So it is sovereign, is Westminster. Even sovereign and separate to the inner city. Right? So you're wrong again, Flossie. Yet, as myself and many others have pointed out for years, this is simply not true. There is absolutely nothing in the treaty articles that transfer English parliamentary sovereignty onto the Parliament of GB, and the English ceded their sovereignty when the Parliament of England was abolished, in order to create the binary Parliament of Great Britain. No, darling, it's not sovereign. Scotland, however, retained its sovereignty, as the sovereignty of the Scots did not and does not rest with the Parliament, but with the people, and is enshrined in perpetuity in its ancient laws and customs, which are also held in the Scottish Constitution. Yeah, but you've forsaken your constitution, as did England when they did the Act of Union. One can read the old parliamentary records of Scotland to learn this and more. It was also reiterated by Carwyn Jones, who represented Labour in Wales, who in a recorded session in Clause 38 pointed out that Parliament is not sovereign. He's right, And it is only now that the English government were seeking to write it into law that they sought agreement from Wales and Scotland to do so, but that he was unable to back it as the Welsh sovereign. Are they? Yeah. As are the Scots, but that is in the fight for the Scots take-up. He also pointed out that it was a fundamental breach of the Treaty of Union. The Scots act as though English sovereignty takes precedent over Scots. No, the Act of Union takes precedent because it's operating and classing you as bankrupt. So it's nicked everything. It's nothing to do with this English-Scottish-Welsh divide is a creation of this bunch of tossbags. Duh! Act of Union is a bankruptcy treaty and administrating system and made sure that England and Scotland were conjoined so they could rob the lot. Wales hasn't got anything, just sheep. And you know what they say? Any Welshman with more than 5 sheep is a pimp. So there you go. So anyway, that's it. So I've had enough of that because she's rambling on and she's talking out her backside. But I get the sentiment, Flossie. But you need to realise that the Union is the problem, and it's nothing to do with England. It's took over both Scotland and England as a bankrupt administrative instrument. So we've got that out of the way. So I'm glad I've done that because I was meant to do it quite a while ago and forgot. Now then, we've got a bit of... I'll have a look what crack is first. I nearly did iMovie again because I'm smart. I'm very clever that way. So anyway, that was that. What do you reckon? I've had to put a few cats to sleep. I was with them to the end. Well, that's alright, David. I just sat with mine until they died and then buried them. And my dog as well. Just sat with it. It took a week for him to go. I've just turned him over every few hours, give him a drink, stuck his face in some water and turned him over. And away he went. No drugs, no nothing, no vets required. Just, he died in peace and that was good and then put him in back garden. Bob's your uncle! You know what I'm saying? I was looking today, they've got some strange, like crypt things for animals now. I mean, I bet they're fleecing you. Like the vets, because now your animals are being treated the same way as you are under an NHS. And then you vaccinate them when they're puppies, and then wondering why they get cancer, and then wondering why they're dying quick. Oh, it's because you've been vaccinated. Anyway, universal... so you've been putting cats... So you're a cat murderer then, are you really? It's like RSPCA. Way back in the midst of time, before I went on the internet, they were running an ad at RSPCA, and it said that they took in 3,000 animals per year, and then the dumbasses said, and we find homes for 1,000. So that means they were admitting to murdering 2,000 of your sheps and rovers because they were actually picking them up off street, if you remember. And that was a self-admission that they were actually murdering 2,000 of your animals, but bigging themselves up because they found homes for 1,000. I put that out to councillors and all what I was doing back then, and that that ad was removed within hours of me putting that out. And I did the same with the NSPCC. It only takes a real concentrated act in that manner and they'll shit themselves. It's because they know you're not thinking, you're not looking, you're not listening, you're not realising, you're not... Like that math we've just looked at there, 900 billion a year. I mean, you've never seen them figures like that before. It's not gone in your mind, has it, that this is what we hand over to our government. And remember, we're only handing over a portion of our wealth. So if 918 billion's in the mix for government, there's trillions here. And it's ours. Their job is to try and nick as much off it as we can, which is why they're obsessed with finding you on roads, and that's going to expand. You're going to get sort of like, when they start messing around with power and fuel, you go back to 1974, they won't be funding industry. They'll not do it a couple of days a week. You'll have speed limits on roads, so they're pretending that if you go slower, you're not using as much petrol. This is all the game. This is why it's so important we get them registration plates off our property and say, kiss my ass. That's it. Removes all the power of this system they've got going on. If you just give them back the registration plate, take back your original manufacturer's title, because that's yours. When you buy the car, that's yours by right. Fraud is being committed. They're committing fraud by Actually, the garage that sells you the new car is committing the first fraud. Yeah, because they're not giving you all the facts when you're buying this product, this vehicle, this property. Because they're sending off the manufacturer's title to DVLA, which is a private company. That's fraud, and that's fraud by the actual the garages. So you can all sue the garages that sold you a new car for fraud, defrauding you. The contract's off. You can get back manufacturing title and give the DVLA back its registration plates. That's what we need to do. Chatting with Craig today, mate. Good. I need to chat with him actually, but not, on phone kind of thing. Two were killed that day. Chris was 999. The other pig had 9 piglets inside her. What do you want about me now? Piglets? Oh shit, that must have been awful. Alright, you're chatting amongst yourself. You're talking murder. Trina's got you going on murder now. Murder of the animals. Right, now, I'm going to have to try this to see if it works. Come back to this. And what I need you to do is somebody just tell me if you can see the screen that I'll be looking at. Because I can't actually see. Because if I come back to this, it goes to this. So I'm going to flip it over. If you can see strips of thing on me thing, just put yeah, and then I know. And if not, I might have to do it another way. So, here goes. Let me just have a look. So I have to put that down. And I have to go here, there, transition, and then I have to go. Now, can you see a load of lines and blah de blah de blah? If so, just give me a yeah on there. Excellent. Right, so that's what we'll do. Right, so I want you to wait a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Getting ahead of myself. I think we need to do this first. We do, sorry. I'm jumping on a bit there. And it's done it again, you badden. So we go off here, and we go over here. I want to go in there. Right, here we go. Now this is for any Americans that might pick this up, because this is really important. And not only do you need to see this, but you need to see what I'm going to show you next. This is from the Truth Is Journal. President Trump silently affirms the Jewish Noahide laws Thursday, April the 4th, 2019. And this was written April the 2nd. So they knew, this is what they all do. So President Trump silently affirms the Jewish Noahide laws Thursday, 4th of April 2019. Education Day USA has been acknowledged and affirmed by every US president every year since Jimmy Carter in 1978. Right? So what this is affirming is that America is actually part of the Jewish state, because when you get into nitty-gritty of the Talmud, they're not clear about whether the Noahide laws can only be sanctioned against non-Jews living in a Jewish country. So in order to satisfy that, they have to turn every country into a Jewish country. You get me? That's why that's the role of the Prussian Knight and Freemasonry in its entirety, and Jesuitism. Okay? So that's what is going on. They have to attach all our nations under this system so that they can enact the punishments afforded by the Noahide. So the joint resolution confirms the importance of education of the lives of the country and the well-being of the nation, and celebrates the birth date of Chabad Lubavitch, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, While the 1978 proclamation did not specify what sort of education was important to the nation, the 1982 proclamation by Ronald Reagan states that this education included the eternal validity of the 7 Noahide laws, a moral code for all of us regardless of religious faith. So Reagan was the bum chum that did this. Which is, when you get into Rat Pack, so Frank Sinatra and all the entourage, that's what they were working to, this. Right? So don't be thinking, just because Frank Sinatra were a Knight of Malta, that this was anything Catholic. This was this system, and through Frank Sinatra and his gang, they pulled all Hollywood diverse races together, ready for this Noahide system to take over Hollywood, which it did a long time ago. So that's your Frank Sinatra's real game. The 1991 Jewish Noahide laws are the principles which are the basis of civilized society and upon which our great nation was founded, so that's America. And that it is our responsibility to transmit these historical ethical values from our distinguished past to the generations of the future. It also promises that this will be reflected in an international scroll of honour signed by the President of the United States and other heads of state. So other heads of state are also affirming this sanction. You see, America was set up under the Christian doctrine. I don't care what anybody says. This just took it over. If it was not so, they wouldn't have to do this, would they? Do you know what I'm saying? So Christian Zionists, get a grip. You're no longer Christians. That was afforded to America. This is what you've become. Donald Trump has signed the Education Day USA proclamation every year of his presidency since he has been in office. Yet his versions of the proclamations do not mention the Jewish Noahide laws, only the importance of education and the remembrance of Rabbi Schneerson, who dedicated much of his life to advancing the Noahide agenda. Even though Trump's versions of the resolutions do not mention Noahide law, the Chabad Lubavitch website reminds us that the Jewish Noahide laws are the unifying idea of all these proclamations, including Trump, and are what our president is referring to when they say education. Jewish Noahide law calls for the death of anyone practicing idolatry, blasphemy, or sexual immorality. It also obligates non-Jews to set up courts to carry out the executions. Rabbi Schneerson, whose birth we commemorate, stated that according to Jewish law, non-Jews have no other purpose than to serve the Jews, who are the reason for creation. Trump's daughter Ivanka is a high-ranking Chabad Lubavitch cultist. She prays at Rabbi Schneerson's grave and has been blessed by rabbis who demand non-Jews follow Noahide laws and refer to them as animals. Seeing that his daughter is such a high-ranking member of Chabad Lubavitch cult and that both her associations on the Education Day in USA have drawn so much criticism, it's very hard to believe that Donald does not understand the ramifications of his signature on these proclamations. So, and that just goes on. I'll put this up obviously so you can further that. Now that's interesting that he didn't include the Noahide, but that's probably because by now, well, for the last 6 years, the Noahide has been a hot topic if you knew where to look. I mean, it's all been removed off YouTube now. But not necessarily because of these facts. It was because of the way it was being presented. It was very anti-Semitic. Because we've discussed, when we're talking about this Noahide system, although it might be claimed to be a Jewish script, it's not. It's the Babylonian tradition. And it shoved itself upon Judaism first, Islam, and also Christianity. So that's what it's done. So it's not by a real Jewish system. It's Babylonian in its entirety. And the Talmud is its doctrine, its law. Now, so if I shove that down, and now what I need to do is go back to this, and we'll just go through this again. So if I shut that, you should be right. So the first one I want you to look at, this is Chabad Lubavitch and Ronald Reagan. Okay? There you go. This is what you're seeing with these. All these presidents have done it. George H. Bush. Shaggy Clinton. Baby Bush, the madman. Obama. One that claims to be a Muslim. There's our trumpet. Hey, look at this. Would that be Vlad the Impaler? It most certainly would. Now then, Times of Israel. Putin's rabbi says challenging governments is not Jewish. Beryl Lazar, one of Russia's chief rabbis, stands by his strongman, aka President Vladimir Putin, and this was in 2015. So all these people that think the Zionists have been thrown out of Russia by Putin, stop kidding yourselves, alright? He's a player. It's theatre. Now, punishment. And this is Wikipedia. Alright, so let's not get playing, we're talking outside of what is. This is Wikipedia. Punishment. In practice, Jewish laws make it very difficult to apply the death penalty. No record exists of a Gentile having been put to death for violating the several laws. Some of the categories of capital punishment recorded in Talmud are recorded as having been never carried out. It's as though the rabbis included discussion of them in anticipation of the coming messianic age. The Talmud lists the punishment for blaspheming the infallible name of God as death. Ineffable. The sons of Noah are to be executed by decapitation for most crimes. Considered one of the lightest capital punishments by stoning if he has intercourse with a Jewish betrothed woman, or by strangulation if the Jewish woman has completed the marriage ceremonies, but had not yet been consummated the marriage. In Jewish law, the only form of blasphemy which is punishable by death is blaspheming the ineffable name. And you get that from Leviticus. Well, this is the Lord. So this is the secondary creation, the fake one. Some Talmudic rabbis hold that only those offences for which a Jew could be executed are forbidden to Gentiles. The Talmudic rabbis discuss which offences and sub-offences are capital offences and which are merely forbidden. Maimonides states that everyone who does not accept the 7 laws is to be executed, as God compelled the world to follow these laws. However, for the other prohibitions, such as the grafting of trees and bestiality, he holds that the sons of Noah are not to be executed. Maimonides adds a universalism lacking from earlier Jewish sources. The Talmud differs from Maimonides in that it considers the 7 laws enforceable by Jewish authorities and non-Jews living within a Jewish nation. Maimonides disagrees with Maimonides' reasoning. He limits the obligation of enforcing the 7 laws to non-Jewish authorities, taking the matter out of Jewish hands. The Tosafot seems to agree with Maimonides' reasoning. Now that's where you get the 21st degree Prussian Knight Noahide judge, because it's going to be sanctioned outside to non-Jewish to carry out what is basically only supposed to be being carried out in a nation controlled by said Jews. Oh, it just went off there. It seemed to go off. So again, like I said, they have to get them all to sign into these Noahide laws as the basis of the nation, in order they can obfuscate this as yet undetermined definition and absolute. But we know they're going to do it. This is why they're dealing with it in Ready for the King of Kings. So that's why they'd sign this every year, to ensure the nation is under this system. And of course, it's going to be handed out to the Prussian Knights, 21st degree, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, okay? Which is massive in America. It is Scotland. Yeah. Now, I've mentioned sub-laws before. I haven't found as yet, there's a lot more of this to go. Not today, but in time. But just so that you know that there are sub-laws, they're called the Dinim sub-laws, and there are over 300 and odd of them, and they're just to show you that there was a link on this to take you to those sub-laws. So it's in the sub-laws where the authority for them to do whatever they want and decide whatever it is they want to do comes in those laws themselves. Now, how are they going to carry out this stuff? So the Jewish Telegraph Agency, and this is a quote, according to Jewish law, Gentiles should not live in the land of Israel. Okay, this is why there's a beef with the Palestinians and Islam in general. Joseph said, if a Gentile does not agree to take on the 7 Noahide laws, we should send him to Saudi Arabia. When the true and complete redemption arrives, that is what we will do. So that shows you that Saudi Arabia and Chabad Lubavitch and thus the priesthood are one and the same. And of course, through Dubai and such, they're attracting all the brains, all the wealth of all the nations, which is a standard practice for the Bolshevik system. This is what they do. Okay? So there you get, they're going to send you, and what does Saudi Arabia like to do? Well, off with your head. You know, they're all good at that. So you think twice about that if you're up on Dubai as being a great place. Yeah, for a reason. They want to attract you there, because then you're going to become prisoners in one fell swoop, all of you. And serves you right. Now, on Freemasons. And this is B'nai B'rith, okay? This is what runs the ADL. So this is a very powerful organisation, and the Anti-Defamation League is an offshoot of this, so this is above it. As long as so it says, published shortly afterwards in the London Catholic Gazette, February 26, 1936. Paris Le Rivel de Purple published a similar account on a later break. So this is a B'nai B'rith convention, and it was published in a Catholic Gazette. As long as there remains among the Gentiles any moral conception of the social order, and until all faith, patriotism and dignity are uprooted, our reign over the world shall not come. And the Gentiles in their stupidity have proved easier dupes than we expected them to be. One would expect more intelligence and more practical common sense, but they are no better than a herd of sheep. Let them graze in our fields till they become fat enough to be worthy of being immolated to our future king of the world. Now, immolated is an important, you look that up. I have actually got it, but I haven't put it in this mix, and it might take too long to find it. And I don't want to paraphrase it. You need to understand what immolated means. If I can find it, I will. We have founded many secret organisations which all work for the purpose under our orders and under our direction. We have made it an honour, a great honour for the Gentiles to join us in our organisations, which are, thanks to our gold, flourishing now more than ever. Yet it remains our secret that those Gentiles who betray their own and most precious interests by joining us in our plot should never know that those associations are of our creation and that they serve our purpose. One of the many triumphs of our Freemasonry is that those Gentiles who become members of our lodges should never suspect that we are using them to build their own jails, upon whose terraces we shall erect the throne of our universal King of the Jews, and should never know that we are commanding them to forge the chains of their own servility to our future King of the world. Servility, so servitude. Okay? And the final one that I found, I might have a look for that emulate. So this is Arutz Shiva, so this is an Israeli media outlet. The purpose of the council, which was the brainchild of Rabbi Avram Toledano, is to assist the B'nai Noach in their struggle to observe the word of God. Now, they won't even say the word God. The goal is to unify, serve and organise all kosher B'nai Noach communities of the world under a single body that can operate under the direct authority and supervision of the Sanhedrin. The decision to establish the body reads, to form a vessel through which the Torah from Zion via the Sanhedrin can effectively serve non-Jewish communities around the world. A third goal of the creation of the High Council and the Sanhedrin's efforts in regard to the Noahide community is to transform the Noahide movement from a religious phenomena, a curiosity many have not heard of, into a powerful international movement that can successfully compete with, and with God's help, but remember they won't even say it, right? That's because they don't want to invoke the Creator's wrath. Help bring about the fall of any religious movement but the pure, authentic faith that was given to humanity through Noah, right? The father of us all. So there's a contradiction again, because in one side they think all the kids from Noah are going to be killed. But that then takes you into the Zohar. And I've explained this before, that when you get into the Zohar, all the children of Adam are unnecessary. And that the real height of this priesthood is Adam Kadmon, the male-female entity. So you get your transhumanism. So that's the inner circle. So that's the outer circle, rather. The other one we discussed was the inner circle, the real guts of it, which shows that even people that consider themselves Jewish are not going to pull through this game that they're setting up if they get their way. Just let me have one little look in here. Where are we? Because emulate, I did keep this, so it should be. But where is it? Unless it's in a different. Well, forget that because I can't find it. So, but emulate, look that up, chaps, because you'll be exceptionally shocked, but you'll start to understand what it is and why I've been so concerned that you start to understand what this system is. Because it's not about religion. This is not attacking a religion. It's not attacking race. This is the system that at the highest levels of the priesthood intend to put over everybody, but of course, without you seeing it, without you finding out. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Christian Zionist, you really need to start to look at what it is you're actually serving. Because you can't actually, you're not putting the effort in to actually understand this yourself, you know. So, yeah, interesting stuff. What we just said, there's a lot more to go at. I have a lot more sensible data in which this system can be shown for what it is. Where are we going now? So look at it. So you could see, well, that's all right, but small. My apologies. Gone? Move here. Who's gone? I think that was a yes. Yeah, I think so. So you couldn't read it. Well, I don't know how it comes across. Until I actually suss this Streamlabs properly, it's the best I could do. I was quite impressed with myself, actually. Because last time it just didn't work at all. And well, I thought I'd done really well. Just no satisfying, isn't it? Just no satisfying anyway, honestly. I don't want to bother. Twee, crafty cigarette. I need a fag, actually. I'm desperate for a fag. So the Trump Noahide flash up. So you didn't see everything? Well, did you not see it all? See, I might have to then put it on a page on my website, each image. Maybe, and then I can put it as a link under here so you can actually go to it yourself. Maybe that's going to be the better option. Because then you can actually download the image for yourself as well if you want to use it. Alright, well, we'll have a look at and consider doing that. If you can see it though, on the video, and you can screenshot that piece, and then you've got it as an image. If not, then maybe I'll have to consider putting it on the website on a page just accessible so you can download the images. Yeah, the UN pushes that. Everything is moving to this system, everything. And as we went through in the last couple of weeks, the way they've managed to pull our assets, our estates, titles, etc. is through this nonsense going on in Canada by these idiot Native Americans. It's the reason why they decided to kill the Queen at this, well, potentially died just now, and have Charles quickly sign this oath to the Church of England, which is nothing of the sort. Everything works in sync with what they're actually doing. So when you understand this, then you can start to see it makes sense. All this nonsense that they're doing and carrying out is odd. This is why. This is what they're obfuscating. This is exactly what they're obfuscating. So where are we? Well, the Ten Commandments. I mean, you need to grasp. I know it's going to be a big ask. But that last video that I put up yesterday, towards the end of it, when it just goes to a black screen and I've got white writing on, that, if you can grasp what I'm saying there, or not what I'm saying, what the data's showing us, you're right on the button. And then you can see why the biblical tradition as it's been thrust upon us has brought nothing but its opposite. Because the idea of light and dark within that bubble, you're basically dealing with two of the same. One gives up his flesh and blood as a sacrifice willingly, that's the masses, and the elite do it through hate. That's the difference. That's why they're at the top in this system. They work and live by hate, and me. You, out of ignorance, willingly offer it up. So it's the important thing of all is that last piece on that video yesterday for you to mull on, because if you grasp it, you grasp it. Now, you know, the ancient church, as was potent while, because, and what it made it different is it accepted the sacred feminine within it. When that was, who knows? You know, I don't know. You look back in history and it doesn't look like it's been anything like anything we'd want for a long, long time. But this is why the Old Testament has to come back and overshadow it all, because that's just completely patriarch. And as we look in that video, they had to do that. They had to create the fantasy of Adam and Eve, because they had to create Eve as just our creation there specifically to help Adam and nothing more, breed more and do what he was told. Which Lilith wouldn't do. Remember, that's why Lilith left him. She said, piss off, you're a dick. Yeah? So it makes sense. It makes sense. So even Lilith is still part of that bubble. We're not saying in that... but then you get into the astrology of it, which I'm quite enjoying, that Claudio brings to the table. That you know, it's interesting stuff. And then you've got Jason, the other Phoenix guy. Well... I've seen a couple of things in there of late. I mean, I don't really watch him much these days, but I have watched a couple. But I'm starting to see things that are quite normal to be seen when somebody's off track. Whether he knows it or not remains to be seen. But, you know, truth is my intent, and I'm not going to shy away from saying what I see. So, we've got two Phoenix, haven't we? The spiritual and the blood and guts, as Jason is presenting it. Keep that in mind, folks. Which one are you attracted to most? Yeah, the UN has signed it. Well, can't see what it says. I don't know. Can't see what it thing. Alright. Is it just you two birds mourning? Oh no, Slipknots can't see it either. Alright, so I am going to have to book up a little bit and get a little bit better on that shindig, but yeah, alright. Well, yeah, Ten Commandments came out of who? Moses' ass, didn't they? Took Moses. It's just the Pharaoh, isn't it? Transferring themselves everywhere. You see, I think that's why the Assyrians took the Israelites out to the Levant, because Egypt had got out, but it was pushing itself back in. And we had the Akhenaten heresy going on, hadn't we? That had been going on for quite a while. So it's interesting. But I don't believe we know exactly what was the Israelite tradition as opposed to what wasn't, because of the efforts of Judah in Babylon. So I'll ask Craig. Yeah, well, if you can do it, Moo, that's another way. Rather than getting it out on internet, it's always a safer way. Thanks for that, Moo. Yeah, so I want to talk to him about a few things, actually. I want to touch base with him, I think. Not much difference between the Wahhabi chopping royalty head of Saudi and Dubai. They're all saboting Francis. Well, Dubai is a proper setup just to grab. You've got to study Bolshevism to understand how they work. And the first thing they do is drain all the brains, drain all the wealth, get it out of the nations that they're attacking, because it makes it far easier. And if your scientists go out, your engineers, you get this fake science comes in because you don't know any different. There's nobody there saying, oh, that's garbage. They're all over somewhere else making dosh. So, I'm not about this noise stuff in 3 years. That's why I can't sleep. Well, there's no point in losing sleep about it, kid, is it? This is just look at this as this is what this bunch of psychos. These psychos, there's a bunch of psychos out there who want to throw this on everybody. And at the moment they have everybody at a disadvantage because they're terrified of their own shadow and they're obsessed with television. And so, you know, they've weakened the enemy while they try it on. The crack is you need to stop being weak, wake the hell up and start realising that we're going to have to take part. Then the game's scuppered. You know, it's only a game. But, you know, I remember having a conversation with Mother once. She was giving me a bit of flack and I just said, listen, you were educated by nuns. Are you telling me they didn't teach you all this stuff? And she just said, yeah, they did, but they didn't tell us we can do anything about it. So, that only works when you're already a slave. When you're in your mind, in your being, in your attitude. You know, because somebody said to me, well, there's nothing you can do about it. I'd say, kiss my ass. Watch. Like that. So, it is all comes back to that in the mirror. That image you see when you look in the mirror. And you've got full control over what that image in that mirror does. You don't have full control over anybody else if they're not your offspring and still little. But you do have full control over that critter that you look at when you look in the mirror. Crack on! Right. We can all see the information. Thanks, guys. They're just moaning, aren't they? Get some bloody glasses or something. Can't see. Have a few less wines before you come on. So you sort of put, so it's just two moaning in it. It's just two moaning asses. I don't know. Yes, sir, great. Yes, sure, we can see. Well, that's brilliant because it means then you can just screenshot that, and that's perfect if you want to use it in any way. Yeah, he's definitely getting that hang of the job. Who is? Me? All right. Oh, so we're getting praise now. Trino, I'm horrible. I can't see it. Are you pissed? Have you had too much of the old, the vine, product of the vine? Right, you, Sean. Could see it all, including your screen on tap. Excellent. Thanks for that, chaps. So I'm getting the hang of it. Yeah, so now I'm with you. Craig is Gumshoe Sleuth on YouTube. Public notice. No, sorry, Paul. You haven't seen yesterday's video yet? You are slacking. You're going down to the bottom of fan club if you carry on. Honestly. If she's not late, she's drunk. If she's not drunk, she's being rude. And it's morning. It's now she's morning. Anyway. Pause, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's why I watch you, Sean, as we have discernment. Well, that's it. Not everybody's cup of tea, this. Mainly because there's such a different level of knowledge from what most people are sucking up. It's double Dutch, and I don't blame them. I can well understand it's double Dutch to them, you know. Dubai Kings all needs to land on that in the Isle of Scotland was sold a long time ago, and this is what the jocks don't get. I don't think there's that many jocks left, you know, in Scotland. I really don't. I don't. Maybe in the cities, but I don't think when you get out to backdrops, I don't think there's that many of them really strained it out. And that's not a good thing, is it? I know, Trina, money having you on, darling. I wouldn't talk to you like that if I didn't think you were a good egg. You know what I mean? Because I am facetious, but, you know, I have my limits. Now, let me just check that there was anything else that I wanted to blag you with. What else? Have I done the deed? Have I? Oh, here's one we can have a look at. Because, like I said, I'm just clearing up basically on things that I missed when we were doing other live streams. He's done it again. That's one thing that's bugging me. I'm really going to have to sort this out because it's bloody annoying. Oh, I see. It's coming up with all them in it. It's not good. I can't see it. So So that should now come up. There we go. Now then, can I make it bigger for you? I'll see if I can help you a little bit there, but there's no zoom on this. It's not giving me the option. Observance of due process of law, 1368 by golly. 36 chapter 342, Edward III. A statute made at Westminster on the 1st day of May in the 42nd year of King Edward III. The original text of this act was in modern English, which it shows underneath. The traditional translation appears first with obsolete characters modernised. The original text is an image. It says, none shall be put to answer without due process of law. Item, at the request of the Commons, by their petitions put forth in this Parliament, to eschew the mischiefs and damages done to divers of these Commons by false accusers, which oftentimes have made their accusations more for revenge and singular benefit than for the profit of the King or of his people, which accuse persons, some have been taken and sometimes caused to come before the King's Council by writ, and otherwise upon grievous pain against the law. It is assented and accorded for the good governance of the Commons that no man be put to answer without presentment before justices or matter of record, or by due process and writ original, according to the old law of the land. And if anything from henceforth be done to the contrary, it shall be void in the law and holden for error. So, like is why I said, the court of record. This is why I asked for a court of record after that shindig. They gave me the court of record. They took a record, but as it turned out, he were no judge. So they still fudged it. This is why we beat it in paperwork. That was the end of it. Okay? Not to say they're not hiding it in some back room hoping they can shove it up my arse at some point. But there you have it, folks. It is assented and accorded for the good governance of the Commons that no man be put to answer without presentment before justices. So that's not a magistrate, it's a justice. Or a matter of record. Because if it isn't a court of record, it isn't the King's court. Yeah? Or by due process and original. So when they're coming at you with these fake warrants, you know what you should do for folks out there who are listening, you auditors and other people? If they come out with a warrant, straight away go onto the judge's register and see if that name comes up as a judge. Because then if it doesn't, the police look like absolute twats as well. Because they'll have to go with that, you see. So that's what you can use on these fake warrants. Because they are fake warrants. And they're certainly not signed by a real Justice of the Peace. So that's another piece to keep in mind. Let's have a look. So, back to my ugly mug. There we go. So, that, 148, not bad. So it wraps up another shindig. Which wasn't going to happen, by golly. But it did, and we've cleared up some stuff that needed to be put out on other live streams, but because they were rubbish and useless, we didn't. But now they're done. It's an improvement from Muppets and Fruit Bats. Well, I'm not calling you lot fruit bats, am I? We know what a fruit bat is. They hang upside down, and the fruits can only be upside down. That's your entire childcare Westminster, Privy Council, Whitehall, Ukraine, Trump, Biden, Putin, Zeke. All of them. Fruit bats, the lot of them. Anyway, that's enough of that shenanigans. I can hear that, yeah, it does, it keeps ramping up, it gets a bit exciting, but it doesn't cut us off, which is okay, that's got to be good. I mean, this thing's got plenty of RAM as well, so must just really take it out of it. It's a shame I can't open any other browsers. We could do a bit more, but unless I've missed something, that is the first news on the 31st. 31st arrest. Am I missing something in the old China? Can you expand on that? ASOS. So Guy Anders, who owns ASOS, owns another use for the land. Well, they're giving it them. They're just all pulling it into crowd, isn't it? Because like I said, they're only using these people for a time. And it says in their own literature, I think it's in the protocols, that many who believe that they're going to pull through with this system aren't. You know what I'm saying? And that'll be anybody that's not of the cult. Because they can't trust that you'll breed a future rebel. So if you aren't of their clan, their priesthood, as affirmed by them in their manner, you're a fool, because you're only being used until they don't need you anymore. And that is important. And Marina Duff says, thanks, you are welcome. Well, you buggers and lovely people, because I shouldn't really call it that, because that would be a bit naughty, wouldn't it? I'm going to say, till the next time.
electronic